This is a very brief introduction to human design. I want to show you some of the basics, which should help the information I'm going to share with you in your reading make more sense, because it can all seem a bit intellectual and mind-blowing at first. But once you start to become familiar with the mechanics of the system, it becomes much more accessible. Human design can bring you a very clear understanding of your unique way of functioning and your unique decision-making process. Decisions that are correct for you. Decisions that you possibly wouldn't make without a clear understanding of how you're designed to make them in the first place. They may go against your own expectations, or what other people expect from you, or what your mind tells you you should do. If you're not making correct decisions, all the knowledge in the world becomes meaningless. You will come to see that everything that is coloured in or defined in your chart, your body graph, is who you are. Something fixed and consistent in you. Things that are reliable. Where we are defined is where we transmit our essential nature and truth into the world. Where you see white areas in your chart, this is where you are open and are designed to take in information, where you are a receiver of information, and from where you can share your wisdom with others. You're not missing anything where there's no definition. There's nothing broken. It is what it is, and this is important to grasp. There's nothing to change. Human design teaches you to become aware of yourself and to accept yourself as the perfect being you already are. As you go through your reading and discover what your precise decision-making process is for yourself, you will understand that the mind is the one thing that we never rely on for making decisions, even though it is the only thing we rely on until we come into human design. It can be such a relief to discover that there is nothing wrong with you. You are unique. You were not made to be like anyone else, and yet we live in a world that tries to put us in boxes and make us all be the same. With human design you find that there is no good or bad, no judgment, you are not broken, and there is nothing to be fixed. Human design comes from a blend of several other traditions, both modern and traditional. Western astrology, with which we are very familiar, has traditionally been a system that has been taken on trust. It was not easy to understand why a particular planet had any effect on our bodies when we are so far removed from them. Human design gives astrology validity. We look at neutrinos and we can explain the planetary influences. These tiny particles with their infinitesimally tiny amount of mass pass through the planets, picking up information as they go, and then they pass through us, transferring the information they carry and taking a little bit of us with them as they pass through on their journey. And most astrological systems don't take you into both the conscious and unconscious parts of your makeup. This is another great gift with human design. There are elements of the Hindu chakra system which talks about energy hubs in the body. In human design we call these energy hubs centers, and there are 9 instead of the 7 in the chakra system. And we can look at the body functions related to these centers and reference them back to the chakra system. There are elements from the I Ching and the genetic code of the DNA. When we look at the relationship between these two, we can see that we have 64 codons in our DNA. Our physical structure is clearly and physically coded and built from 64 tiny bits of information that make us who we are. And this is mirrored in the I Ching, the 64 hexagrams which describe all the possibilities that are there in human beings. The structure of the I Ching and the amino acids is clearly related. Different era, different language, same information. The ancient Hebrew Kabbalah system chronicles the journey of the soul through channels and pathways along the tree of life. The channels and levels of initiation of the soul are similar to the channels between centers on the human design chart. The mystical knowledge of the Kabbalah talks about the quantum, the sum of the parts being greater than the individual parts. In human design, the channel is the quantum of the gates on either end, and the whole body graph is greater than either just the red or the black elements. The mandala is our framework. The wheel of the zodiac is the innermost wheel, and then we have the 64 hexagrams around the wheel. The innovation of human design is matching the beginning of the wheel with a certain place in the zodiac. The order of the gates is not new, it comes from the structure of the hexagrams. But human design aligns the zodiac and the hexagrams, and we can translate every astrological position into a hexagram of the I Ching. And this is how we arrive at our database of design and personality visually depicted by the body graph. Our inner matrix is the body graph. Every center has its specific gate positions in a fixed and specific way, so the astrological data can transfer to a particular hexagram, which can then be activated and shown on the body graph. We use the birth data to create the chart, just 3 pieces of information: date, place, and time of birth, and this is the basis of human design. The personality, the conscious activations on the right in black, who you think you are, 13 activations calculated from your birth time, and the unconscious body on the left, 13 activations calculated from 88 degrees of solar movement before your birth. It's very clear and straightforward, and you will probably only identify with the conscious black attributes, at least to start with. And these 2 parts come together to make the whole. The body graph, the quantum. A little earlier we saw this image and saw that where we are defined is where we are consistent. The definition is created where 2 gates opposite each other in a center are activated by a planet, calculated using the birth data. This gives us a channel and definition in the 2 centers which are now connected. There are 2 kinds of open centers. This one where there are no gates activated in the center, and this one where there are activations but they are not connected up at the other end. The centers operate differently depending on whether they are defined, undefined, or open, and as examples of these are likely to appear in your reading, it's good to have an overview and begin to understand some of the language and mechanics. And that is an introduction to the history and basic elements of human design. It's not necessary to get into names of gates or channels right now, but we will of course touch on those that are applicable to your specific design as we look at your chart. But we don't need to get lost in the detail now. Ra is the one who brought the human design system into the world. He often said that the human design system is not a belief system. It does not require that you believe in anything. It does not require that you believe in me. It is not stories. It is not philosophy. It is a concrete map to the nature of being. It is a logical way in which we can see ourselves. So there is no need to take anything on trust. Human design is experiential. It is a living system. It lives in you, so you can find out for yourself if it works. And you can gain an understanding and an awareness of who you are, and you can begin to accept and love yourself. So maybe you'd like to take a little time to digest this information, and when you're ready we will move on and take a deeper look at the mechanics of the human design system.